Miyuki and Kaguya are great friends from the series Love is War. They're both members from the Students' Council that secretly have feelings for each other, but neither will admit it out of pride. Instead, attempt to force the other one into a situation that forces them to confess their feelings using any means they can. So who is smarter? Let's find out. First section is spatial, and the first category is observations of materials. Kaguya seems to get this section as she often considers things that might make use in getting Miyuki to fall for her, such as getting him to notice something that might distract him or put him in the mood. She had forgotten her umbrella and was aware that Miyuki didn't forget his because he rides his bike to school. Kaguya gets this with medium difficulty. Next is observations of space. For similar reason, Kaguya gets this one as she's aware of people's schedules and how long it takes them to do certain things, such as the path Miyuki takes to get to school. Kaguya gets this with medium difficulty. Last is puzzle solving. Kaguya gets this as she's able to connect all the pieces together to form a plan using both materials and space to her advantage, picking when and where she will strike. The only downfall she encounters is Chika, who seemingly shows up at random. However, this doesn't really count as it's often out of Kaguya's control. Kaguya gets this with medium difficulty. Kaguya won all the points, meaning she gets the overall points, giving her 28 points, and Miyuki with a 0. Next section is interpersonal, and the first category is understanding your own intentions. Kaguya seems to get this as she often takes preparations and thinks ahead of what she wants to do and considers multiple possibilities. Kaguya takes this with medium difficulty. Next is understanding what you will do. Kaguya gets this one as well as in her plans she knows how they will directly affect Miyuki and what outcome she expects from it. Typically speaking, she would succeed much more often if not for Chika, who usually foils her plans. Kaguya gets this with medium difficulty. Next is understanding your limitations. Miyuki edges this one out as he knows well he isn't that talented and usually works through his struggles knowing what he is and isn't good at and takes steps to get better, while Kaguya is usually dumbfounded if things don't go her way. Miyuki takes this with easy difficulty. Next is understanding your knowledge. This is a close one, but Kaguya edges it out slightly. Miyuki uses a lot of his knowledge well, but he doesn't necessarily know what he's doing half the time, while Kaguya does certain things because she expects certain outcomes from them. Kaguya takes this with hard difficulty. Next is adaptability. Miyuki takes this one as he often has to respond to Kaguya's advances towards him, coming up with things on the fly as to distract her or throw her off her game. Miyuki takes this with medium difficulty. Last is emotional control. Miyuki seems to get this as he is able to stay cool under pressure most of the time, or at least a lot more compared to Kaguya, who, when thrown off her game, loses her cool and gets highly frustrated with her circumstances. Miyuki takes this with medium difficulty. Miyuki won more points, so he gets the overall points, giving him 22 points, and Kaguya with 8. Next up is linguistic, and Kaguya seems to get each category as she often prepares herself for what's expected in conversation as to lead Miyuki into a trap that forces him to confess his feelings, while Miyuki is usually left to think on the fly about what he should say when Kaguya rarely has to do the same. Kaguya takes all the categories with medium difficulty, meaning she won the overall points, giving her 22 points, and Miyuki with a 0. Next is bodily kinesthetics, and Kaguya wins all these categories as well. Kaguya is shown to be active in several different clubs such as archery, which shows great hand-eye coordination, as well as being able to save another student from drowning when Miyuki wasn't able to. Kaguya gets all these categories with medium difficulty. Kaguya won all the points, so she gets the overall points, giving her 18 points, and Miyuki with a 0. Next is interpersonal, and the first category is understanding others' intentions. Miyuki seems to get this one slightly as he often sees through Kaguya scheming against him, which allows him to be able to discover a possible response to counter hers. Miyuki gets this with hard difficulty. Next is understanding what others will do. This is slightly edge out in Kaguya's favor as she predicts what others are going to do before they do it, while Miyuki is usually left to react to what others are doing, leaving Kaguya with the more predictable path to follow. Kaguya gets this with medium difficulty. Next is understanding others' limitations. This one is really close between them. On one hand, Miyuki knows that Kaguya, being sheltered her whole life, leaves her lacking knowledge on the real world, while Kaguya often observes the situation and recognizes what's possible. Kaguya seems to edge this out because of her natural gifts here, so she gets this with hard difficulty. Last is understanding others' knowledge. Miyuki gets this as previously said he uses what Kaguya lacks in knowledge against her oftentimes, which is really the biggest leverage he has over her. Miyuki gets this with medium difficulty. Kaguya won more points, so she gets the overall points, giving her 22 points, and Miyuki with 8. Next is existential, and this one is very tricky since neither character shows any real philosophy. The most we get is Miyuki wanting to be the best he can be, learning new things and being a good friend, taking care of people he cares about, while Kaguya usually does things for more selfish gains, looking down on others sometimes. Miyuki wins every category as his ideals are more consistent and more determined than Kaguya's. Miyuki gets every category with medium difficulty, meaning he gets the overall points, giving him 12 points, and Kaguya with a 0. Next is logical, and Kaguya gets every category as she gathers information in much more detail and is able to deduce what is necessary to use and proceeds with it in more detail than Miyuki does. Kaguya gets these categories with medium difficulty, meaning she gets all the points, giving her 34 points, and Miyuki with a 0. Next is musical, and Miyuki seems to take these categories as he uses his abilities to learn how to sing and practice his frequency and tone of voice under Chika's guide. Miyuki gets this with medium difficulty, so he gets this overall points, giving him 20 points, and Kaguya with a 0. Last section is naturalist, and the first category is understanding how elements work together. There's no clear showing of this, but Miyuki is top of his class in grades, which suggests he'd learn the material better, which would include science subjects. Kaguya was also pretty good in school, but Miyuki was always top of his class, so Miyuki gets this with hard difficulty. Next is understanding of how elements work together. Kaguya edges this out as she took into consideration wealthier conditions for some of her proposals and plans. Knowing a beach setting and hot weather would put Miyuki in a certain mood as for her to try and seduce him. Kaguya gets this with medium difficulty. Last, in understanding animal nature. Kaguya gets this one as often considers natural instincts from her male counterparts, knowing how they will react or feel about certain things, and takes it into consideration. Kaguya gets this with medium difficulty. Kaguya won more points, so she gets the overall points, giving her 21 points, and Miyuki with 4 points. When we add up all the points, Kaguya wiped the floor, with Miyuki accumulating 153 points to Miyuki with 66 points. Kaguya is just a much more naturally talented and gifted person, while Miyuki gained the points he did through determination, learning, and adapting. Kaguya won, so she'll be moving on to the next round. Did you enjoy this video, and do you agree with the results? Is this what you expected, or is this outcome surprising? Let me know what you think in the comments.